Hi, I'm Reggie Ponder. Welcome to the Real Critic Roundtable. This week we have, of course, Katia Woods. We have Sean Edwards, and joining us soon should be Carolyn Hines. Now, this is where Black film critics come to discuss, debate, and have a little fun. So, you know, every week I get to have my opening statement. And here's my opening statement. I can't really say, well, firstly, you might be wondering, why am I wearing Jamaican stuff? I'm not Jamaican. I just want to go to Jamaica. I'm ready, y'all. I'm ready. I got my little drinky drink. As soon as this is over, I'm headed to Jamaica in my mind. But all right, let's get to that opening statement. So as you guys know, there are plenty of film festivals to attend, and I never get to all these film festivals. It's crazy trying to run around, and my NPR station, not paying for me to go to all these places, so I can't make it, right? But I pick and choose which ones I want to go to, and I surely miss going to some of these great film festivals with some great films and some okay films and some okay people, because sometimes the people are okay. But this pandemic has many of the festivals going viral, and there are really pluses and minuses to this phenomenon. On the minus side is the atmosphere. There is something great about the atmosphere of these festivals. You get to meet people, you bump into friends, you miss that movie when you bump into somebody and go out to eat instead of go to the movie when you're supposed to be going to the movies. But anyway, it's fun. That whole atmosphere is what is one of those things that you like. But on the plus side, there's no running from theater to theater. There's no traveling from city to city. There's no fighting for a spot on the red carpet. And if you get a spot on the red carpet, there's no trying to push people aside so you can get that question in that everybody asks. It's the same question. But you know, you got to get it yourself. So on the plus side, but one of the plus sides is that ordinary people are now, from these virtual festivals, are able to attend the festival. They're able to see movies that they might not have seen otherwise. And I think that that's a real plus. They don't have to pay for the ticket to the hotel. They don't have to pay. All they got to pay for is the pass to watch the movies from their home and at their convenience. Now, I can't wait to get back to the festival atmosphere, but I hope that the festivals figure out a way to keep people involved outside of when we get back to maybe what we call the new normal. And that's my critic for a minute for today.
No, I like that viewpoint you brought up. I think what festivals are going to do in the future, and the same thing can be said for award shows, is I think when we do get back to normal, when this whole pandemic ends, I think you're going to go back to the old ways in which you actually have the festival in which people attend. So you still have those people who can engage, interact, network, and watch the movies in person. But I also think you're still going to have a virtual component that will remain intact from here on out.
I totally think you're right. Katia, you're up.
I agree. You know, my calendar usually starts as far as new movie season with Sundance. And then we work our way to South by Southwest. And there are some then I do hit my local festivals. And then I'm going to miss not being at TIFF this year. I think TIFF is an amazing. I got in the con and I was like, this is yay. And then it was like, no, you know what I mean? And hopefully I'll get to do that because it was on my bucket list. I want to do more international film festivals. But I really love TIFF. I think TIFF is a great atmosphere. Toronto is an amazing city. Great food, great people. It's a short flight for me, 45 minutes. And, you know, also it's you do get to network, and I have a better opportunity to interview certain people that I normally don't get to interview in this type of environment. I'm always like, my idea of like on the carpet, once you're on the carpets, it's all fair game. Do you know what I mean? And you do, it really is, you know what I mean? I've gotten people that I may not have gotten because I spoke up for myself. So I definitely agree with you. And I'm missing all my friends. It's cool. We talk on Twitter, we talk on Zoom, but I do miss that. Us going out for drinks, I agree with you, having dinner, you know, or you would see each other at a festival. I'm gonna see you in Austin. We're about to go to these food trucks and get our drink and get our food on. and wah, wah, wah. Ronna took that all away.
Absolutely. So Carolyn, welcome. We were just talking about how festivals have gone viral and a lot of people are not making it to the festivals. Any thoughts on it?
Yeah, they're just not happening.
Not being able to go to festivals is going to be weird. This would have been my third, actually, no, right. This would have been my fourth TIFF, and it would have been my third as an accredited critic. But having taken part in San Diego Comic-Con just a couple of weeks ago, it's going to be interesting to do everything virtually. It's not, you don't have the atmosphere, you don't have the sense of like camaraderie of seeing everyone like lining up to see the films, like talking about the films after you've seen them, you know, and just like chatting and doing all the different activities. And with TIFF, like you have the street activities that they have, like, you know, like the stalls, the games and all that. We don't have that. And it's convenient being home, it's convenient being able to do everything online, but it's not going to be the same. It's going to feel weird. And like for Comic-Con, I was like, it's convenient, but it's not the same. It was weird for me. I was like, I miss my friends.
It absolutely.
I hate it.
You hate it?
I need to be in Cannes on the yacht drinking shots of Justin Timberlake.
I
I need that in my life. That's all I'm gonna say. But
look. Next time
I'm flying to Toronto just to keep my streak alive because it'll be 22 in a row.
Well, I'm just gonna say next time you in Cairns and you on the yacht, I'm glad I have your number because I'm like, hey Sean,
come on, man, come with me, please.
Hey, Jan, you going to, man?
Please come with me, please.
I'll be there.
Please come with me.
All right, guys. So we're gonna get into our first movie. This movie is a Netflix joint. It's called Work It. And Katia, could you introduce this film?
Yes, this movie is about a young girl who is the super student, but realizes that all the work that she's put into being the super student and what she thought is the perfect college candidate made her pretty much generic because all the other kids had the same plan. And in order for her to get into her dream school, she decides to join the dance team, but a little problemo, she can't dance. So this is all about her learning how to dance and also expanding, in the words of Michelle, her box, imploding her box in order to make herself more palatable. And, you know, in this journey, she grows and she realizes that there's more to life than just having your head in the books.
So before everybody else kind of gets into what they thought about this movie, I'm going to bring in guest critic Bobby Ponder to come in as the dancer expert. Welcome, Bobby Ponder, to the screen, you guys.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up?
So a little full disclosure. So in college, I danced in a dance troupe, modern jazz team. And I wasn't good, but my wife danced semi-pro and Caribbean, African dance and traveled a lot doing that. And so this one right here has the dance bug, and she has traveled all around the world dancing, and she also teaches dance. So I'd like to bring her in to ask her, Bobby, what do you think about this?
Unfortunately, it was not for me. I really like dance movies, and I really do like corny dance movies as well. But for me, this one was a story that's told time and time again. Like, there was nothing original about the storyline. But really what got me was that the talent that they chose to use didn't highlight dance. So I never felt like I was excited about the dance aspect of the movie. I wasn't really intrigued by the story either. And it set a little weird with me, the age relationship between the high school student and the teacher, who I'm like, how old is he? What is going on here? It's a little over-sexualized, not sure where I should be focusing. So it wasn't a great one for me. That's all I have to say.
I jump in here. Karen,
I'll say one thing. If you're talking about the student-teacher relationship, you had a problem with that. You obviously have not seen Blood and Water. That's all I'm saying.
I have.
There you go.
I agree with what she said. You know, I mean, I'm the daughter of a dancer. I danced, my daughter danced, my sister danced. And when I mean dance, we were in flats when we were 2. Again, because my mother was a dancer, point shoes, the whole thing. And when I saw what dancers make, I was like, no, thank you. I'm putting my body through all this pain. I think it took me 2 years to get my feet looking normal again. But having said all of that, is if the story is going to be generic, there are so many amazing dancers out there. I'm like, you did not book dancers. Exactly. These are not dancers.
Well,
like
no,
normally with dance movies, you hire dancers that can act. In this particular case, it looked like they went for actors, and the dancing was so, in my opinion, mediocre. There's so many amazing, all you gotta do is look at two, you think you can dance, and you could have picked 5 of these kids that audition, or, you know, Jennifer Lopez's show. There are amazing kids out there that can dance, and I get, we're not the demographic for this. It's gonna be tweens and teenagers, but as far as the dancing component, it was not good. And especially when they had the duel, the two, I'm like, are you kidding me? You can watch on TikTok, on YouTube. There's a bunch of kids out there that will blow these two out of water. I mean, you can tell we live in major cities, but downtown. The dancing was not good.
No, the dancing wasn't the best, but I mean, you could say this is like the first TikTok generation dance movie. And no, they were specifically not going for like super terrific dancers. They were going with the cast, because the cast is young, the cast is fresh, and the cast has social dominance, and the cast 100% appeals to the demo. There's a saying we always throw around when I'm on TV at Fox 4 News in Kansas City, and we always use this term. It's called respect the demo. They squarely went for the demo with the casting. The casting works in this movie. It's one of the most appealing parts of the film. Yeah, the dancing was just okay, but the dancing didn't need to be. No, it wasn't. I wouldn't say it was horrible.
No, it was horrible. It was not good.
I don't think it was horrible.
So can I get
it worked. I thought it worked. The energy's there. You know, the spirit's there, and it was fun.
Carolyn, thoughts?
What else could it be? It's fun.
Okay, so I have to confess, I wasn't able to see this film because it's not available on Canadian Netflix.
Oh,
or American People. But I've seen the trailer. I saw the trailer for it, and my first reaction was like, oh, look at the culture appropriation. All in action again. How many times have we seen this script? And so because I haven't seen it, all I can go is based on what I saw in the trailer, and just the synopsis of it was like, did not interest me in the least. And they did show some of the dance sequences in the trailers, and I was like, this is core. So what's I'm a dancer. I used to dance. I did contemporary dance, I did African dance, and I did ballroom dancing up until my early 20s. So yeah, no.
So it's really interesting, Sean. I understand the whole respect the demo, and that's how come I brought in somebody who's even closer.
That's perfect.
You know, somebody who's a little closer to the demo. And that is, I think respecting the demo is actually, you have to do that, because who is this movie? Who is this film made for? I will tell you, I was bugged like nothing else when she did the prayer to Beyonce. I know we're gonna talk about Black is King, but please don't put Beyonce in this movie. Please don't connect Beyonce to this.
Okay. And let me just say this on the demo. There are, if we're gonna use that, there are kids out there that have the following that can freaking dance way better. So if we're really gonna go use the demo, one of them is the young girl that came out with the Renegade dance. She could have been in this movie.
No,
and
she's great, but I don't know if she's got the acting appeal though.
His acting wasn't that great either. The acting was just so.
Actually, it's not. No. It's harder to pull off than you think. The acting was okay. I mean, I know exactly what they were going for.
So there are so many. Again, I agree with Carolyn. Why do they always do this? And I also agree with your daughter, Reggie. It was very uncomfortable to see the two of them in a relationship. I was thinking this young man was 23. I went back and read the notes. They did say she was 18. I guess they're saying that because they kind of figured people would be a little uncomfortable. And it's just, and also it's unethical. You do not have a relationship with your choreographer and all that other stuff. Like, no, this movie bothered me.
All I'm gonna say is blood and water then.
I mean, this movie
Blood and
bothered
water
me
don't mix, man.
levels.
Go ahead,
Blood
Bobby.
and water,
I mean,
baby.
The difference between that is that was called out in that series, and this was never addressed as an issue. Like, they just acted like it was perfectly fine and everything was okay.
They did. They glossed over it.
And then additionally, with the casting, I completely agree that like the casting should be considered to go to the demo, but there are so many dancers. Like, I could name probably 20 dancers in this sentence that I know who act and dance in the LA Hollywood scene who would have been perfect for this role, because even the background dancers that they chose to me weren't great dancers, and they didn't have to do much acting. So at least your supporting actors could have been the better dancers in that role if you were going to have the stars that you decided to have.
Yeah, I agree with what she said. Yeah, what she said.
Look at High School Musical. Like, if you're gonna compare it to something, look at High School Musical. The choreography was so much better. The casting. Oh, none of these kids we knew when they were cast. It was so much better, and we fell in love with these kids. We like literally, like, you wanted to know more. That's why we tuned in for part 2. I just feel, in my personal opinion, that Disney does a better job with these. They know how to tie into the demographic, they know how to hire the talent, and they know how to get the choreography and all of the visuals together. If Netflix is going to continue to try to compete with Disney and Nickelodeon, which produce this type of content, they have to get better talent, and they have to tighten all of this thing out. Because these kids are going to look at this. Don't discount that kids don't know if somebody's a good dancer, if somebody is not.
Oh, they know that.
They're going to look at that and be like, this is who they got. When so-and-so is out there, yeah, this is problem. No.
But they're still gonna watch. They're still gonna watch, and they're still gonna have fun. It's a fun It's just a fun throwaway movie. Let's dissect something more importantly. I mean, I'm not gonna dissect this to death.
So with that, we'll move on to our second film. I'm gonna skip that one, but I'm gonna keep my queen over here.
You have to.
As we get into this one, because last week, Sean, you talked about, and we hadn't seen yet. You talked a little bit about Black is King.
Yes.
And it really is a visual album from Beyonce, from the Queen, and it's based on the music of The Lion King, The Gift, and it reimagines the lessons from Disney's global phenomenon for today's young Black kings and queens in search of their own crown.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to start here because to me, this was like a prequel to Black Panther. It set the landscape for which Black Panther lived in terms of the majesty, the beauty of the country. It, from a costume perspective, I felt the same way watching these costumes and that I felt with the pride that I felt from Black Panther. And then the story is not unlike Black Panther, where you got two family members fighting to be king. I was so enthralled with all of the stuff that happened here. You said, Sean, that you thought that this was it. And I hate when people tell me it's it, and then I go watch it and it ain't it. This is it.
What I love about it, first and foremost, just to sort of like recap what Black is King is like you mentioned, it's not a movie. You know, it doesn't really have a traditional beginning, middle, and end. It's not structured like a film, but it's also not a music video. I think Beyonce's tapped into something really special here. She may be one of the best visual artists, you know, of our generation, because that's what it is. It's a masterful piece of art. And the thing that really sells this is what you touched on, the craftsmanship. I mean, when you really explore what's happening before your eyes, like you mentioned, the costume design, the art direction, the editing, the cinematography. I mean, there's so many elements. We need to know all the people responsible for this, because it's such a tremendous collaboration. Like, you really don't see things come together the way this has. And I just love the fact that Beyonce has just given like the biggest middle finger to all the years of the negative perception of Blackness. She's like, no, Black is beautiful. Black is bold. Black is bodacious. Black is back. and she just does it with 2 middle fingers, man. I mean, she kills it. And I love how she utilizes her connection with Disney to further the story, further her business association with Disney to create what she wants to create unapologetically on her own terms. I'm here for it. I love every second, but one caveat. It's not her best work because I still don't think it's as good as Lemonade.
Okay.
But it's great.
I really, really, really enjoyed this. I do a lot of African dance, Afro dance. That's kind of the skis that I am in. And actually, one of the people who was the star Blue Man, I know him as a dancer and personally, and it was such an amazing thing to see people that I know in the community who are actually like pillars in Afro dance around the world being a part of this video, because you can tell Beyonce really sourced things from the actual sources. And
great point.
She was studying the cultures very hard. She took the dancing very seriously. She took the costuming very seriously, and she really paid homage to the cultures represented. I know there was some talk about the fact that certain places in the African continent weren't addressed, but I think this is extremely relevant with the Afro beats movement and how especially West African music and some South African influence has really come to mainstream at this point, and Beyonce is showing people how to do it right, how to incorporate this into the Black diaspora in terms of music, and really how to push that culture forward with her privilege being in the status that she's in.
Yeah, what she said. What she said.
What she said. We're all fired. She's gonna work for all of us. We're all fired.
I feel like we're a little bit behind in the States. I feel like the UK has done a better job of incorporating that Afro beats music, especially like in hip hop and everything. And we're just now starting to get hip to a lot of these artists. I have to give a personal shout out to Tierra Whack, Philly born, Philly bred. I interviewed this girl in the beginning of her career, and people said she was weird. People said that all these types of things. And this is a girl that really, almost quit the music business, almost. And, she went to Atlanta and it didn't work out and, got burned by a lot of people. And then just really decided if she's going to do it, she's going to stand in her square and be true to herself and incorporate herself. And just to see this young queen on screen with Beyonce, when a lot of people said that what she was doing, nobody was going to care, nobody was going to work. It's just truly, you love to see it. It's really, really, truly amazing. And, the other thing too is all the things I agree with Sean that people say, especially about Black women. Black women get so freaking disrespected, it just absolutely makes me scream. And the fact that she really put not just Black women, but dark-skinned Black women. And it's horrible that we have to say that because Black is beautiful in no matter what shade, but she really makes the conscientious effort to say dark-skinned Black girls deserve to be up front. They are beautiful. You're beautiful whether you wear your hair natural, you wear a weave, wig, whatever the heck you want to do with yourself. You're a beautiful. And I wish more, it's always the women, I hate to say this, but it's always the women that are more embracing of our chocolate sisters. And I hope that the male artists, let me just say, male artists, especially in hip hop, catch a clue and see how she beautifully, shines Black women. And I think to me, it's a visual album. It's not necessarily a movie. It's a visual album. Again, it's a love letter to Black people. It's an homage to the continent. I mean, how long is this? Almost 2 hours. She's not going to be able to touch every part of Blackness, but she sure as heck gives it a try. And again, this is so enjoyable. I watched it with my daughter. We were cheering. We went to see Beyonce together. On tour, the last time she toured solo, and we were like crying and tears of joy. It's just an emotional thing as a Black woman to be seen and to be validated. Like I'm getting emotional just talking about it right now.
I can hear it. I love
it. It's so rare that we see that, and it's a shame that I'm saying this. You know what I mean? And people just don't understand. And when you see it, and you see it from her, who understands that she has light skin privilege, and also the love she pours into her daughter as a mother. We have to raise our daughters to love themselves, to say your hair is beautiful, your skin is beautiful, because the world is telling them that it's not. So yeah. I appreciate that about her.
I love to bring Carolyn in here. Carolyn.
So I liked it. I didn't love it. I liked it as a visually. What it is visually is like everyone's, it has like I think it has amazing imagery and cinematography, but the way how I saw this, for me, there's some elements of it that I don't like personally, and some things that I don't like from what she does politically, because no matter what anyone would say, there are political aspects to this video. And for me, the songs themselves didn't even leave much of an impact. The only ones that left an impact for me was Brown Skin Girls, and that's the song, and I don't like what she did visually with that either. And then there was the other song that features the Mija, which is the one closer to the end where it starts up with the black and white squares, where she starts.
So what bothered you? What bothered you visually?
Yeah.
First, I have cognitive impairment. So one of the things with that is the way how I receive images and like, so that the editing for this film is very choppy, and it affected me visually. It was hard for me to process the images. Like that video probably has close to 200 cuts, and it has a lot of quick edits, which to me is poor editing. And it also, to me, affects the way how you can look at the images, because it doesn't give you enough time to understand what you're seeing and to appreciate what you're seeing. You know, as soon as you see one thing, you're like, oh, this is beautiful. It changes to something else completely different. And for me, as someone with cognitive impairment, and I was just like, I can't, what's going on? As soon as something happens, another image, and they're all pretty, but you can't really receive them. And as I said, it has beautiful cinematography. The set design is amazing. I think Hannah Beachler was one of the production designers on it. She worked on Black Panther, so that's where you can get the kind of like the Black Panther influence in it. And so like the set design is amazing. The costumes, I have to give like major props to Zarina Akers. She did an amazing job with the design and bringing a team together to make these costumes.
So I'd like to ask you as well, because you touched on a little bit that you don't like some of the political messages. So
that's what I want to hear.
What was it there that rubbed you?
So the thing with this film, and it's something that I find when you look at Twitter, everyone talks about the aesthetics. Everyone talks about how empowering it is for Black women and Black people. And yes, but there's three things that you can take from this thing. Like I looked at it when I started it, I said I'm gonna look at this as a film critic because it's a film, right? And I'm gonna look at this as how I would look at it as a film critic. And there's three major themes running throughout this thing: it's patriarchy, capitalism, and Black wealth or exceptionalism, as we would call it. And for me, as like I have to tell someone, like I relate to this film as someone who's from the Caribbean, who grew up in Barbados, who's a part of the African diaspora from the Caribbean, who lives in North America and who interacts with people from both North America, the Caribbean, and also different parts of Africa. So the way I look at it is I look at it as a well-rounded thing than just strictly saying, oh, it's about the African diaspora. I'm like, yes. But when you're looking at something with a lens and you're only looking at specific parts of Africa, like Kathy was talking about how the film isn't horizontal, she can't really tell, you can't say everything about Africa. Yeah, but my major problem with this is she doesn't say where in Africa these scenes take place. There's nothing to there, and I even tweeted this. I said there's nothing that unless you're familiar with the landscapes of Africa, you can't tell where she filmed. And to me, that's a problem because she made Africa a monolith. She did the same thing that if a non-Black filmmaker had done, we would have been calling them out and dragging them up and on Twitter for doing the same thing. We would have been like, we're in Africa. Africa is not just one country. Africa is like hundreds of countries and townships and cities.
But she doesn't specifically say. But she doesn't specifically. I mean, it's a work of art.
But works of art lets you know where your location is, right? If I look at the background you're using, like I as a person not from where you are and like not knowing what that painting is behind you, all I see is a city. I don't know what it is, so I can generalize it, and then you'd be like, but then you're like taking the identity of my city away. I'm like, but you don't tell me where the city is. It's the same thing for the Caribbean. How people look at the Caribbean, and the only thing we think of the Caribbean is most people think the Caribbean is Jamaica. Well, people like I say I'm from Barbados. People like wait, hold on. I'd be like I'm from Barbados. People like, is that in Jamaica?
Now you're mixing education with
No. My thing is like if she's gonna say that she's talking about Africa, you can't just make Africa into just the continent. You have to say where these people are from. She has different filmmakers that she took from different countries and worked on it.
She doesn't specifically say Africa. She just says Black. It's just an artistic, it's our artistic celebration of just Blackness in general. She doesn't specifically.
But Blackness is also not a monolith.
I
Is it?
think
No,
that she
nothing
made it
is
a
though.
monolith.
Nothing is. Yeah,
I
nothing
don't
is.
think that she did, but because I hear your point, because I'm a Beyonce fan, but I don't think she's absolved critique, because I do actually agree with your points about capitalism, because that's a really big conversation. But in terms of representing Africa as a monolith, I really disagree, because she actually focused really heavily on some specific cultures, and I know you would have to like know them to know what they are,
Right.
but I think that it opened up a conversation because people wanted to learn more. All on my Twitter feed was like, what does the blue mean? Like, let's research what this means. And I think it really opens up the conversation about Black people being educated about other Black people.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
Beyonce couldn't spoon feed us information about every single country.
I'm not talking about spoon feeding. Like for me, okay, like what I think she could have done, and it's just a simple thing. Whereas if you have a specific scene or location, a small little sign at the bottom saying
This
Nigeria.
is Ghana. I understand what you're
Nah.
saying.
I will say that
I understand. If I'm hearing you correctly, Carol, what you would like her to say is, I mean, I kind of picked up that she was focusing in this part of the movie on Ghana, right? Because the artist was from Ghana, and the exteriors and stuff like that looked like it was from Ghana. So in a way, I do understand it. I think because I get that too sometimes, because I feel like there's a different lens from a North American Black person and for people that are Black outside of that country.
Of course.
But the problem sometimes happens, not all the time, is that people from North America aren't as open to learn about the Black experience outside of North America, and they assume that their Black experience is more dominant or truer than Black people from outside of North America. And I'm always like, we all started off in one place, our people got put on a boat, we just had different stops.
Yeah, but I think the issue we're talking about would be better served if she did a BTS, if she did like a behind the scenes featurette where she explains the inspiration for each scene.
Which she may.
Yeah,
I think she will. I think that
when
I
the
do
DVD
too, but
comes out, I'm sure we'll get that.
But from the delivery of how Black is King is seen, I think he would like interfere with the artistic impact if you had to push pause to explain each different.
No, I'm not saying that she has to push pause to explain. No, what I'm saying is like, as I
I'm
said,
just being dramatic in my description. I don't mean literally.
Okay, like you see how for our Zoom calls we have our names in the little box at the bottom.
Nah, I don't think you needed that.
Why not?
I think artistically, I mean, I agree. I think that because artistically, you wouldn't see that in some type of a film like this. And I do think this is an opportunity for Beyonce. It's
not a documentary.
She'll come again, and because Beyonce has done this with other things and explained her work, explained the inspiration. I mean, we're already talking about it on Twitter. Her dancers are already talking about where the dance moves are from, where things were filmed. So this happens a lot with Beyonce's work, where after the fact, we start to really get to dive into her inspirations and where things took place. I just don't think that the video would have been the same if it would have been like description box in the corner.
Yeah,
no,
and the last thing I want to say,
that's just my
and that's why we have you on, because this is where you get the diverse opinions. I'll have the last word on this because we got to move to the next thing. Is that the last word for me is that I ain't need none of that. I left out there like this. Black is king. Black is king. It was an overall feeling for me as opposed to specificity. It
felt good.
It felt so good that I'm watching it again this weekend. She's leaving me, so she's going away for a week. I'm watching it again this weekend. I didn't get to watch it with her, which I really wanted to because of her knowledge about the African diaspora. She's been to countries I've never been to. So anyway.
Oh, you gotta go.
Yeah. She makes me mad. She really makes me mad. But that's what happens when you try to make it better for the next generation, right? Anyway, that's it on that. I really appreciate you guys on that. So I know you got to get out of here a little earlier today. First, we're gonna let Bobby Ponder go. See you, Bobby.
Thank you. Nice to meet you guys.
Nice meeting you. Great breakdown. Great breakdown on Work It though. That's a dope breakdown on Work It, man. Hey, she can come get this gig.
Yeah. You know, I had to. We watching it, and she talking about stuff. But you got a hard stop.
I'm
we
good.
got
I'm good. I still got 19 minutes. I got
all right.
19 minutes.
So we got final statements.
Uh-oh.
Really to kind of get into the issue. Hold on. Let me back up for a minute. So since you do have a minute here,
I got some time, man. Come on.
you know,
I'm here for you. I'm here for you.
I
I'm here
appreciate
for
that.
you, man.
So on the issue is that I sent you guys an article to look at about amplifying Black voices is good for business. And it seems that Netflix has figured that out. Sean, talk about this issue for us.
No, I love that article you sent. I had already read the article. I've really been in tune with what Netflix has been doing for the past several years with their strong Black lead program. And I think, yes, Blackness is good for business, but I also think Blackness is better for business when you go into business with Blackness and it's not a reactionary deal. You know, Strong Black Lead was created before all the George Floyd incidents have happened, in the United States, which caused us to take a deeper look at social injustice. And a lot of corporations are like, we need to throw some money at any and everything Black. Well, Netflix didn't do that. Strong Black Lead was created several years ago before that. So I think being in business with Blackness it's very important for corporations, but it's also important if you don't do it in a reactionary manner. Same thing we did with the Critics' Choice Association. We started a celebration of Black film back in 2014. We did it because we thought it was the right thing to do. We didn't do it because we were forced to do it. We didn't do it because we were reacting to something. We didn't do it because there was all of a sudden an outcry. It also happened. And the same thing happened with the Strong Black Lead program at Netflix. It also happens when you have people of color who are working at executive levels and sitting at the table who can not only create those type of programs, but can get those type of programs greenlit, funded, and marketed. That's the important thing. Like when we created a celebration of Black film at the Critics' Choice Association, I came up with the idea, but I also had a seat at the executive table, and I was also able to acquire funding, and we were also able to market, and we were also able to partner with other corporations to make it happen.
Here's my question.
It's very important to do so if you do it in the right way, and if you have people of color sitting at the executive table.
So here's my question, Katya, is that Sean says that you can't be reactionary, but wouldn't you think some place like—
I didn't say you can't. I said it's better if you're not being reactionary because you should already have wanted to do business. I don't like it when companies feel that they're forced to do business. But if you have decided that this is the right thing to do, it's just a little better than being reactionary. But get it how you can get it. Yeah, take it how you can. Take it. Take it, baby. Take it.
I appreciate what Netflix is doing. However, there are some areas that need tightening up. And one of the issues that has been brought up is On My Block, which has which is a great show. It's a great representation. It has Afro-Latinos. We're not just the background dancers. However, there's nobody Latino that has directed an episode. And that's a problem. It's one thing to greenlight shows. It's one thing to have marketing. But if you're going to talk about a diaspora, you need people not just in front of the camera, but people behind the camera who know this life, who experiences this life, that understands this life. You're not holding the showrunner's feet to the fire. And she's also an individual that has not addressed it and has balked at it. So it's Netflix's job to say, we have these campaigns, not just with Black people, but also with Latinos, saying that we hear you, we see you, we are for you, we respect you. But then you have showrunners who are doing the foolery. So part of your responsibility as a network is to say, you need to fix this. And I think this is where we get. And I do appreciate, I think, even with this Monique lawsuit, I believe, number one, Monique should be working. There are people in Hollywood that have done things 10 times worse. I think it's going to be a hard sell for her because of the fact that Netflix has partnered with so many Black creatives, have backed up the Brinks truck for so many Black creatives, especially Black women. Shonda Rhimes proves the case that in this particular case, I don't necessarily believe it was about race. I think it was about her stats. I do think she deserved more money than what she got offered, but I think it's hard to prove. And I think it's a hard thing. It's like, I agree with Sean, you can't just have, you know, diversity people that have no power. And I think this latest move by bringing Black programming to Netflix, they're even going to get more viewers and more support. But again, I cannot stress this enough. Part of this discussion has to be, if you have, especially when you have shows for predominantly Black people, you need to have people behind the scenes that can execute the culture and that can make sure that it doesn't turn into foolery. And On My Block is what, about to have season 3, so they got to get it together.
But those points are all well said. But I think that all your issues are valid, but those issues are valid separate from the Strong Black Lead campaign, because your issues are like, a lot of your issues are dealing with like pre-production, production issues, which are separate from what the actual Strong Black Lead campaign is about.
But you use those kids from that show in the Strong Black Leads thing.
Yeah, I know, but it's still, they're still separate.
You them to market something and
they're
to
still
say,
separate.
this is an except. No, not in my opinion.
Let me explain, because Strong Black Lead is a marketing component that's using elements of product that's already been produced. Your points are valid, but those points have to be addressed before these actual programs have actually been like written and shot and edited. And I get that. The Strong Black Lead is only dealing with the stuff that they're handed. But the issues you're talking about go way beyond getting to a marketing campaign. They go way back to when the computer screen is blank, and every single issue is valid. But yeah, Netflix has work to do, but it's separate from what the Strong Lead Black program is. Those issues deal with a whole nother dynamic.
And in my opinion, they don't, because you can't use the kids from that show to prop up and say we have strong Black leads. And these kids and the people on that show have spoken about those issues. And it's like, on the one hand, we can use you to sell the show, but then we're not going to address the issues that you're bringing up about the show. To me,
so Katya, I actually see them as different in that you could have a strong Black lead program and talk about strong Black leads without ever talking about, did somebody address direct the episode.
No,
I think that your point. I think
the points are valid.
Yeah, I'm buying it. I'm like, that is an issue.
Right,
that's
Monique's
a
issue is valid. Right, Monique's issue is valid, but it has nothing to do with Strong Black Lead. That's a whole separate. That's a third issue. The Monique situation is a third issue.
And what I like that you brought up, though, Kati, again, I think they can be that they are separate. But what I like that you brought up is that sometimes we take a company that's doing a decent job and we put them on a pedestal like they got it. No, Netflix got some work to do. And so
everyone does.
Absolutely. They have some work to do. And I'm really glad that you pointed that out. Carolyn, I'd like to bring you into the conversation.
Well, for me, with regards to what Netflix needs to do with regards to the Strong Black Leads program is the casting for the shows that they promote. And that would be regards to colorism and for women, because when you look at the shows that they're like, oh, we have strong Black leads, and I look at the women and these girls, I'm like, they're all like, they're usually light skin with a certain texture of hair. You know, you're more acceptable European standards of what they consider beautiful for Black women. And I'm like, yeah, no, Netflix, you still got a long way to go, because. But hold on,
I think we're over penalizing Netflix, because a lot of the TV series and a lot of the movies, they just acquire. This goes back to the people who are producing. I mean, that's what I'm saying. This is a different issue.
They acquire them,
you could call out every streamer, every network, and every studio for that. It's the issue.
And I do. I'm the kind of person, if you used to be talking about colorism all the time, and it doesn't matter the studio, it doesn't matter the producer, it doesn't matter the director, the casting director. I'm calling it out, because when you have Netflix saying,
so you're calling out every Black director that's out there then.
As it should be, because they're part of the problem, as it should be. Colorism is real. Like, that's embarrassing that we as Black people really fall into that trap.
Yeah, and I will say on that does have a responsibility with the shows that they're like, oh yes, these are strong Black leads, but if you're only showing me a particular type of strong Black.
So, is there an example you can cite of a director who's done it right in terms of colorism? I just want to know for my own knowledge.
I would say actually Steve McQueen does a really good job of how he casts Black women in his films. I would also say, let me see,
Who all has he cast? He hasn't cast that many. Who all has he cast?
Let me tell you something. The way how he cast Viola Davis in Widows was important. Okay, it may not be
that's one.
to you, but it's important to me as a dark-skinned Black woman. Yeah.
Okay.
And to me it's important because like when you have, and the thing is we can't even use that many directors because many of them don't even do it, and even if
Ava does a good job too. Ava
Yeah,
does a good
that's
job
what Ava
said that.
women of different SKUs
exactly
and letting them be sexy and letting them be leading ladies. She does
and what she does with Array and the films that
well, she acquires those movies for Array, but the movies that
But
she hasn't done a good job of that.
But hold on, I'm not done. Also, when you look at
she cast Carmen Ejo as Coretta Scott King.
Hold on, I wasn't done though, because if you look at Queen Sugar and look at how
That's
casting
a TV series. It's not a movie.
I wasn't only talking. Did I only say
okay?
Films?
That's fair. That's fair.
Project, right?
Okay.
And
that's
Queen
fair.
Sugar. And those kind of projects, and that's the thing. We need more of those kind of projects. The thing is that there's so few of them. And now when you have Black, and then I know when you have the TV shows like Girlfriends and Moesha and all those ones, and like those are under the Strong Black Lead umbrella, yeah, because it was Strong Black Lead that was saying, oh look, we have these shows from the 90s and the early 2000s. Back on our platform, these are shows about Black women or whatever. And then when you look at how Black women were portrayed, especially dark-skinned Black women portrayed in those TV shows, there you look at see how the industry is now. Not much has changed. Yeah, a lot of it is still stereotypes. A lot of it is still badly written storylines for these women. And we're like, this is 20 years ago, and like it's hardly changed. And if you're gonna have strong Black, if you're gonna be like strong Black leads, I'm like, you gotta look at how colorism is shown in these films and these projects under the Strong Black Lead umbrella. They have a responsibility for that.
Yeah. So what I'll say to that, Caroline, I'm really glad that you guys brought up all those.
They're great points.
I'm glad you bring up all those points. What I'll say though about holding Netflix accountable for films that they acquire, that's a slippery slope, because as a creator, I don't want Netflix to tell me what to create and what to have.
100%.
So I don't want them to do that. So I think that
100%
that the shift toward talking about directors and the people who are creating this content is really important, because the folks who are creating this content, and I think, Kante, you talked about this, about Black men who are directors with light women and so on and so forth, is that we need to have those creators be better.
Yeah,
I don't want
they create before
I don't want
it gets
the studio
to
involved
Netflix.
in that.
No.
Yeah, I don't want them to be involved in that, but also there are shows out there with dark-skinned Black women as lead. Like just like they scan the diaspora to purchase what they purchase. You know what I mean? We go with what we know. And if you don't have anybody in the room to say, hey, this picture is great. It's a lot of Black people and I love it, but it's a little light. We need to, our programming needs to bring some other chocolate people into, we need to get some programming.
I buy that, but you also, I think also sometimes though, let's just celebrate, at least let's celebrate Netflix for taking the first right step. I mean, you can knock down everything. I mean, it's going to be hard to really like appeal to the massive demands.
We're still having the same conversation though. When do we get our due though, Sean? We have given Attagirl and high fives to companies for as long as television has been around.
I'm not saying celebrate mediocrity.
It's bad, and it's like, I'm tired of us giving participation awards and high fives.
It's not a participation award. There's other streamers and studios who've tried to do the same thing that hasn't worked as well. I'm just saying.
No, I mean, it's good that they're seeing us, but now it's time to take the conversation further, because we still are having the same conversations that you know, our mothers had and our grandmothers had. That's not progress. Progress is when you turn on a TV and you just see a person, and we no longer have to talk about light skin, dark skin, any of that. We just see people. That's progress when we can just say,
But I think
see us.
Go ahead, Carolyn.
Well, you see, the thing is like, because I understand, Reggie and Sean, what you're saying about having Netflix dictate what creators are doing. That's not what I'm not talking about. I'm not talking about Netflix and their execs telling the directors or whoever how to cast. I'm talking about what Kathy mentioned is the purchasing is when they look at the projects that they do acquire, and someone should be able to say, oh wait, hold on, let's look at the slate that we have. And out of these 10 slates with 10 leads, nine of the female leads are like.
But you guys are actually talking about casting issues. So this
No,
is
I'm not talking about
casting.
But if you present a picture and say, this is our Black talent, and the Black talent only looks one type of way, that's a problem. But
the problem isn't, but what I'm saying though, that problem isn't 100% on Netflix. They promoted the title.
Who buys the stuff? Netflix does. No one put a gun to Netflix head and said, you have to buy these shows.
So you want them to dissect films based on problematic casting that's existed for years? The issue goes to casting. Sometimes this issue is deeper than that.
But you don't have to participate
you got to call producers.
But I think what she's saying though, I think what she's saying.
That's not a smart business. I get what she's saying. That's just not a smart business.
It's not smart business to have Black people of different colors. Are you serious?
But what I buy?
I didn't say that. I'm saying in terms of acquiring content, like they had acquired a certain selection of content and decided to promote it. Like, it's not a perfect campaign. It's a great first step. But the issue that's being discussed now goes to casting, and in particular, I actually work for a production company, so I know how casting's done. So this issue goes way, way, way deeper than anything we have time to discuss right now. And the issue that you guys are specifically pinpointing actually falls in the lap of the people who produce and finance the movies. It always comes down to the money. The people with the money dictate a lot of what you see and have seen throughout the history.
So guys, we're gonna have to continue this part of the conversation again. We'll bring this back up because we are running out of time.
It's skewing off what you initially wanted us to talk about.
That's all right, because I like the fact that we got into this. Thank you so much. Sean,
slid off a little bit.
Before you check out here, because we're gonna have some closing statements, but you got to get out. So closing statement, man.
Yeah, closing statements. Congratulations, Deon Taylor. We just wrapped on Don't Fear, written during the pandemic, filmed during the pandemic, about the pandemic. Congrats to my homeboy representing Kansas City, Kelvin Wilmot. He's got his film, The 24th, coming out, and he has done a beautiful job of casting Black women. Negro League celebrating 100-year anniversary. Still waiting for the quintessential Negro League feature film. I love Bingo Long. I love Solo the Game. They didn't capture the essence of how these guys weren't allowed to play and created their own league.
All right, man. Well, we're going to see you later because we know you got to hit.
Of course you will. Of course you will. Yeah, man. About to go represent, baby.
All right.
NPR in the house. Ta-da-da, ba-da-da, boom. Enjoy that. Hey, enjoy Jamaica, baby. Enjoy it, baby.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right, guys. So, Carolyn, closing statement. Whatever you like to talk about, you might have seen a movie you want to tell us about. You might want to even do a rebuttal on something we just talked about. Whatever it is, it's your time to have your closing statement.
So just a tiny rebuttal on what Sean said, like because he talked about the people with the money making the decisions, and like he's gone, so I can say Netflix is the people with the money and they're making the decisions. What films they choose to promote and put on their platform is still their responsibility. Like, you know what I mean? So he can say it's about the direction of producers, yes, and that is something we talk about. But what films Netflix chooses to put on their platform? What films the Strong Black Lead arm of Netflix chooses to promote and say this is who we see as a strong Black lead, bears a responsibility in who they are and who they think is a strong Black lead, and colorism plays a part in that. I, as a dark-skinned Black woman, is an important issue to me. Might not be to him, but it is to me. But as I'm going on, like for me, like what I want to say to finish is I want to talk about the films that are being produced by Black women and made by Black women. We have the Old Guard that we talked about the last time it was on. And we also have Lovecraft Country coming up by who's executive produced by Misha Green, who did On the Ground. I really wish that someone else happened to that show. And that's coming up in August, on August 16th, I think, on HBO. And I really want more, and I really want people to really see this show. I haven't seen it, but from what from interviews that the cast has done during STCC, it talks a lot about the Black experience and how things have not changed in North America from the 50s till now. And then we also have the news of help me out. She's doing Captain Marvel 2.
Nia DaCosta.
Right, Nia DaCosta. Like, it's amazing to see these Black women getting these big projects to do these action films and these genre shows. And it's just something that I've always wanted from the time I was younger. And like, yeah, we had like Gina Prince Baker doing Love and Basketball, but now it's becoming more prolific now. And I'm happy to be seeing this as an adult woman and see how things are changing. And I'm happy that like my nieces and the young girls in my life will be able to get these kind of experiences. But we also have to make sure that we're honest about how things are happening and that we don't just like gloss over and focus only on the good things. Because if you only focus on the good things, we won't look at the things that need to change and that need to progress. And like, as critics and as people in the film industry, and it's important for us to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. And whether that's you know, and that's important. We uplift Black women, and we also have to encourage others to uplift Black women as well, because it's hard out here for us. It's hard being a Black woman. Hard.
All right, that's your statement. Katya, it's on you.
I agree with Carolyn. I mean, we can appreciate companies doing amazing things, and I think Netflix is one of the better companies where you can go on the app and you can see varied programmings from all over the world in different languages representing Black culture. However, I feel like we as Black people sometimes are so happy to be seen that we don't drill down. And that's what I meant by participation award.
Yeah.
If we're going to say, you know what I mean, you see chocolate men, as you should, because we're beautiful and we come all different shades. And I know that chocolate men have been told, like, when light-skinned brothers were in, you don't got the curly hair and you're not like this. And that's wrong as well. But we need to now do a better job of having women be seen. And my personal opinion, I feel like Black women directors do a better job in casting that way. Maybe perhaps because those conversations have happened in their household with your siblings and these types of things. So that pain is a little bit closer to home. So when you get an opportunity to cast and when you get an opportunity to include people from all over the diaspora, you do a better job. Kudos to Nia DaCosta. I'm excited for her. She deserves it. I wish people would mention her name more with Candyman coming out. And, I get that people know Jordan Peele. Kudos to A24. Yesterday, man, I loved the clapback. The way People magazine erased Taylor Page out of Zola. Zola is a story that happened to an experience that a Black woman shared with Twitter. A Black woman is behind the helm. An Afro-Latina, an Afro-Panamanian woman is directing this film. And this story is about Zola's, I think it's a weekend, but it seems like it was longer because it was
it was a weekend because all of the main thread took place over a day and a half. So, but the film takes place over a weekend because I think they leave and go to Florida from the Friday morning, and then it all like culminates the early December.
Well, she said, like, if you read the thread, there was a whole bunch of other stuff that happened. And Jancita Bravo is the director from Zola, an Afro-Panamanian woman, and Taylor Page deserves all the love. She was on that show. Some of them remember from, was it On the Floor? On VH1, and she is Zola. And this is what happens, and it drives me crazy because this is how you know there are no Black people in the newsroom. The person who wrote the story is white, the editor was probably white, and A24 did what a company is supposed to do, clap back. They got out the red pen, rewrote that whole headline, and that's when people said, oh snap, the studio is kicking back and saying, this is a really good movie. It's a wild ride. I hope A24.
So what are you telling them to watch? Because you're making a recommendation here, so I want to be clear. I'm telling them to watch
Zola because you're gonna be like, what? And I gotta shout out my Philly brother, my other Afro-Latino, Coleman Domingo, who was in If Beale Street Could Talk. He played Regina King's husband. He is amazing in this film. The camera loves him. And so to me, it was like, when I saw A24 come out with that, I was like, I see you, boo.
All
I
right.
was
Yeah, I was so
company
happy
that stands up for
because
talent.
I was really upset that that people did that, because I'm like, she's playing Zola, she's playing the lead character, the titular character. You're
The
gonna
other girl is way later,
like,
and then
what?
the movie opens up with her.
So we're definitely gonna have to really get into that and actually get
Oh
into,
yeah, when it comes out, we're gonna talk about that.
we're definitely gonna have to get into that. So I have my closing statement, which is not better than you guys. I feel ashamed now because I was gonna talk about something else. But anyway, as you guys, as people probably know, is that I'm a real sports fan. I'll watch anything sports. I mean, before COVID-19, I drive my wife crazy because she'll come into the room and there'll be stuff that I'm watching, and she'll be like obscure sports like cornhole or lacrosse and field hockey and ultimate frisbee.
Oh
I'm watching.
Do you watch the Highland Games? Do you watch the Highland Games?
I'm watching all this type of stuff. And then, of course, I watch the traditional sports like football, basketball, baseball, and hockey. But my friends and I would occasionally get into a discussion about what would happen if college football and college basketball, if the Black stars went to HBCUs instead of predominantly white colleges and universities. Would the money follow? Would the advertisers support those colleges like they do those white institutions? So you're probably asking, what does that have to do with the movies and entertainment? Well, think of the major TV stations as the white colleges and universities, and think of stations like Bounce, TV One, Aspire, OWN, and BET, even though BET is not Black owned, but think of them as like the HBCUs, right? What would happen if the Black stars, the Black movie stars, decided to do their main projects on those stations? Would the money follow, or would those Black stars lose money? How do you really build Black wealth in Hollywood beyond the actors and producers who mainly support the white establishment? Here's my problem. If Blacks watch TV 37% more than all other demographics, wouldn't that be the demographic more valuable to advertisers? It should, but the system is so imbalanced, and any ideas that Black stars may have of abandoning or making Black networks home for their major projects would require a sacrifice. And I mean a real sacrifice.
I think
even
Tyler
then,
Perry's trying to do it with BET.
and even
Man,
then,
don't even start me with Tyler Perry, because it's all about it's not only quantity.
hold on. I'll let you jump in a sec. But even then, I'm not sure it will work. And even if the Black stars did that, why? First, Black people watch plenty of shows with no Black representation in it. So we would not stop watching those networks, and those networks would still have us as viewers. The second thing is that if all the Blacks went to the networks like Bounce and Aspire, it still wouldn't generate enough advertising revenues to equal the amount of revenues that would go to those mainstream television stations. And then the third thing is that Black networks would need to have greater distribution and better ease of access for this to work. I know it won't work. It's just something I have been thinking about for a long time. I'm not really sure how we build these Black networks into a media powerhouse to be able to compete on the level of these major networks. But I know we can't ignore the fact that these networks need more support if they're to pay their actors, producers, and all the people associated with developing program a competitive wage. I watch these movies. I know that they're working on a shoestring and a budget. You know, because you watch them too. You'd be like, man, I wish they would have. I wish they could have, because the production value is not at the place that we'd like them to be. They're working on small budgets. My point really is that these networks need not simply survive, but they need to thrive. And that's, for me, something to ponder. But that's the show. This is the Real Critic Roundtable, the forum for Black critics and the source for diverse views. You know that was what we got this week. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.